Hey YouTube, Adam here with RetroRepairs, and time for another repair video. So what we've got here is this Turbografx that I've been working on. This is going to be part 3 and hopefully the final of this Turbografx series. And what I'm going to try and do here is clean up the video a little bit, get that shell cleaned up, and get myself a nice fully functional Turbografx. So what I'm going to do first is just show you where we're currently at with this. So we were able to fix an issue in the controller circuit on the other side of the board. There was a broken trace causing some of the buttons not to work on the controller itself. Now that that's done, we are getting a little bit of a fuzzy RF signal. So I'm going to show you what I'm talking about here. Oh, there we go. So this is what we're getting. So as you can see, not very good signal. It's, I mean, RF's not the greatest to begin with, but this is really bad. So let's see if we can't clean that up slightly. And then I'm also going to do a composite video mod. One quick thing I did want to test first is just putting this back together with the RF shielding in place, just to see, does this make the difference? It's possible maybe that the console relies on the RF shielding to supply ground to a different part of the board. I don't know, that'd be kind of odd, but I've seen odder things. So let's try set this up. And we'll quickly give this a try. Where'd all my cables go? There you are. And I forgot the power button. Okay, so it actually is a little bit better. Still not great, but better. Actually, notably better. So, oddly enough, it looks like this system really does rely on, it seems to be getting gradually better too. So it seems to really rely on the fact that the RF shielding here does a substantial job of either blocking out interference more than other things, or maybe even carrying ground across that RF shielding. So I'm going to leave the RF modulator alone, and I'm going to go right into this AV mod. I suspect the AV out signal is going to look pretty good, but I'll have to dive back in here and test it. So I'm going to set this up to test that, and then I'm going to show you how I plan on completing this mod. So quickly going to give you a once-over on this system and show you how it was really built. So it usually comes with this back cover, which didn't come with the one that I bought. And you see it has this connector on the back. It looks like some sort of serial or parallel port of some type. And this connector is pretty useful. Not only does it connect to the add-ons, like the CD add-on that's available for it, but it also sends a composite video signal through here. So you can actually buy an attachment that will attach right onto the back here, and you'll just be able to plug in AV ports or AV plugs, so RCA cables or some other type of video plug or cable. But I don't really want to do that. The one that I've seen, it's a third-party one, and it's bright neon green. I think it looks pretty stupid on this black console. And two, I'd rather just have something built right into this that's not going to be very intrusive at all. So what I'm going to use is what's called a TRRS plug. Stands for, I believe, tip ring sleeve, but basically it looks like a headphone jack, and it's able to supply your composite video left and right audio signals. So but what I want to do first is tap into the video signal out here just to test to make sure that the video is clean. So we probably don't even need to open this. So what I'm going to do to test this is I'm going to use a couple of these connectors. I forget what they're called, but they have these little ports in the back and a pin on the end. And I believe what you want to connect it to for the video is the second one in from the right when you're looking at the back on the bottom. And then you need a ground pin, which is right beside it. So now what I'm going to do here, connect these to an alligator clip. Space them apart so that they're not touching each other or touching any of the pins on the back. And then I'm going to connect that alligator clip to an RCA plug. And this is just going to be a temporary test. I just want to see the quality of video signal. And then, of course, I'm going to plug my RCA cable into that, and I should be able to test a video signal. So I'm going to change my TV to AV instead of RF. And let's add some power. And fingers crossed that this works well. And it looks like it does. That's actually very clean. So no more interference, no moving around. Let's wait till it gets to the demo screen. Obviously there's no audio because I've only connected the video portion of it, but I actually really like that. That looks really good, I must say. So, I need to get my TRRS plug and find a place to mount it. So my original thought was I would mount it in place of the RF. However, when I look at it more, this hole's pretty big. And now that I've found that the RF cleans up a bit with the shield installed, I don't think I want to do that. So instead I'm going to mount it probably somewhere on the back here. Maybe even beside the power if there's space, but we'll figure somewhere out for that and try and create really a modification without really drilling 3 holes into this shell like your typical yellow, red, and white plug will be. I do have to wait for my parts to show up. I've ordered them, I'm going to say 2 weeks ago, and they're supposed to be on a truck for delivery today. So hopefully I'll be able to dive into this very soon. And right on cue, this package showed up shortly after I just said that. So let's crack her open, show you what I got. All right, so got, well, yeah, that's everything. So it's mainly big because I have some cables in here. So this is, I'm going to show you what this TRRS cable kind of looks like. So has your basic 3, the red, white, and yellow plugs, the RCA plugs there. And then this is the plug that will go into the console. So this is, it has 3 different sections, 1 for each channel of audio, and then your video, and of course a ground. So it's a pretty universal cable, and it makes for a nice kind of low profile installation. This is a replacement cable for that controller, so I'm going to swap that over as well. And then just some general other goodies. So a capacitor kit for Famicom. I don't even know what all this is. Oh, this is an AV. There we go. That's an AV mod for a top loader or a Famicom. Some fuses for Super Nintendo. So I use this really as an opportunity to stock up on some parts. This is a 3.5mm TRRS 4 conductor. So there's 2 of those. I thought I ordered some more, but maybe they're in a separate package. Fuses for a Sega CD. Speaker for a Game Boy. This all came from console5.com, so I'd like to ordered from them a few times. They're usually pretty good, and they always throw in a nice little fireball, so little bonuses. Oh, some more. There we go. That's what I thought. So I ordered a couple different types of these TRRS plugs. This one's called a premium one, and this one is, I guess, not premium. But I figured I'd try both, see what works best. Oh, 2.5 mil versus 3.5 mil. Well, that could be a problem. I didn't pay attention to that. This appears to be a 3.5 mil plug. Yes, it is. So I guess I'm going to be using this one, not the 2.5 mil. Oh well. A couple more cables, some ribbon cable. Well, there's another 3.5 panel mount jack and 3 more of those. So there's all my parts. Most of them have nothing to do with this project whatsoever, but just thought I would share that with you. So I'm going to clean up that case and then we'll get to installing this mod. Okay, so before I go and get too far into here, first thing I want to do is try and figure out where, oops, there we go, where I want to mount this. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to do all this while I'm actually cleaning the shell. So this is the busted up shell I've just got it sitting in right now. So I'm cleaning the actual good shell I'm going to use. So how this is going to mount is it's going to screw basically into this shell and sit kind of like, basically like this, I guess. Oh, like that. That goes through. Yeah, I guess so. And it screws through on the outside. That seems kind of odd, but oh well. I was expecting it would go through that way. But regardless, so it's going to sit like that. And I need it to be somewhere where the actual body of this, firstly, isn't going to get in the way of anything here, but also it's going to be relatively easy to remove. I also have to consider the shielding. So how is the shielding going to get in the way? So let's throw the shielding on quickly and see really what it is that we're looking at here. Okay, so a couple of options. Back here isn't ideal that shielding gets in the way. On the side here, maybe wouldn't be too bad. That would be pretty simple installation. I can kind of do an opposite from where this RF is. I can put it right here, and I can run the wires really even underneath here and go all the way up. That might be a fairly simple way to go about doing it. Through the back right there might be doable. I wonder, can I get this out without messing with that? I'm going to remove this. Yeah, so that'll work actually in the back here. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go for the back because it looks like we can get the board in and out without really messing with that area too much. We can slide it forward and backward and then kind of pop it into place. So I think that'll be probably the best way to go about doing this. And just make sure there's nothing weird going on here. There is not. So yeah, let's do that. All right, so first step, going to be isolating the pins that we want to work with, and just going to follow. Let's get rid of this shield so we can see what's going to happen here. So I'm going to look at this as if it were right side up, but facing the back, and highlight which pins I'm going to need. So where are my tweezers here? Just use this pen. So second in from the right on the bottom is the composite video. Then there's ground right beside it. And all the way on the far side, we've got left and right audio channels. So flipping this over, we can see roughly how these pins translate onto the board itself. So the bottom one here is going to be this top pin on this connector here. So that means composite video, ground, and then left on the bottom. So left here, right there. So let's make those terminations right now. So I've got a bit of wire. I'm just gonna keep it all kind of bundled together. So we've got 4 strands here: ground, video, left, and right. Need to strip that, and then we'll solder it right to those pins. All right, so I'm going to add a little bit of flux over here. So that's the video in the ground. I'm going to flux up these pins, and I just want to kind of visualize how I want the wires to run. So as I determined, I'm going to put them on the back on this side. So maybe we'll run them up, over, and back. I think that might make sense. Let's get some solder, touch up those points a bit. Okay, so there's those two. Now let's spread over the left and right and something like that. So I'm going to shorten this gray one a bit just so that there's no slack and weird bends. And then do the same thing. I didn't reflow those first. Melted off a bit of that shielding, so clearly this isn't very good ribbon wire. There we go. And then, oh, I even need to shorten that a touch more. Oops, that's the wrong soldering iron. There we go, that's better. Okay, so should be able to run this, and we're going to connect it right around here. But I'm going to grab my shell, give it a scrub down right now that it's been soaking for a while, and then we'll get this thing reassembled. All right, so got this back in its RF shielding, and I'm just going to put it into the shell and see how everything's going to fit. So flip her over. Should go in something like so. Okay, so roughly like that. So we'll get a bit more, and it's going to come back around and connect like so. So now what do we need to do is mark where on here I'm going to drill for the hole. And I'm going to get some tape, put that over top, and start drilling. All right, so I've thought about it some more, and I've decided there's just not enough space here. I put this in here with the inside edge lined up flush, and it's going to cover that screw. So I'm not really wild about that idea. It doesn't go through the case, however, or maybe it does. Is that a... Yeah, that screw goes through the case itself. So this post is going to get in the way, and we do not want that either. So instead, I think we're going to go out the side right here. There's lots of space there. So let's move this tape over to here. And I'm going to measure approximately where the RF out is and try and line it up as best as I can. Okay, so using my measuring tape here from the inside lip, it looks like it's pretty close to 4 inches in from the top. So if we go 4 inches in from this side and then make a mark, that would be a pretty good starting point. And then we'll just need to, let's get that mark there. Okay, just need to figure out how far deep I can make this. So it's going to be tough to line up exactly with this just because there's not really a hole drilled in the middle of the case, it's more at the top, but I need something substantial for it to connect to. So this is going to be more, rather than trying to mimic that one, just doing whatever will fit. So it's going to sit like that. And see how much space we've got down there. So right about there will be fine. Yep, that'll be good. So I'm going to get my drill and just slowly work my way up through drill bit sizes until this is going to fit nicely. All right, so I'm going to start with a fairly small drill bit just to get kind of a hole going and gradually go larger. That ensures that I reduce my chance of cracking this plastic. So I'm going to just kind of speed through some of this. Okay, so I think I have the right size hole here. Let's double check. Okay, so that's going in nicely. Just going to smooth that out a little bit, get rid of some of this plastic, and just going to install that. All right, so from the outside, hole's pretty smooth, so I should be able to put this in here. And then screw it tight to the outside. Then I can use my pliers to really get that tight on here. But you do need to be careful that you're not going to crack the shell or anything like that. Where'd my pliers go? There they are. And it's always easiest to have the little ground tab sticking up or to the side. I'm going to go up, that way there's nothing on the bottom here that I need to worry about. Okay, so that should be good, I think. So let's get this board ready and install it back into the shell. Okay, so looks like we are more or less good here. There we go. Make sure these are all in there flat, and it appears that they are. Let's slot this in here. Now, I'm going to loop some of this back around, and then we need to solder the connectors into here. So we do have a little bit of space, not a ton to work with, but that's why I didn't put anything on the bottom, so that I'll be able to access everything from the top side. So I'm going to trim this, and then we'll get on connecting that. So probably just like that is going to be sufficient. Okay, so looking up the pinout on these, it's important that you get these in the correct pins. So the one on the left is the video. The one in the middle here is the ground. The one on the right is the white RCA plug, and this will be the red one. So I'm going to bend these out a little bit. Yeah, this works fine. Okay, so bend them out a little bit and apply a little bit of flux to them, and I'm going to tin them. So that's the process of just putting some solder on these pins so that it will be a little bit easier to, actually, no I'm not. I'm going to explain why. So I'm going to strip these first. Okay, so the green one, as we determined, was video. So that's going to go through the left one here. It's literally kind of like threading a needle down here. You don't really have any good space to work and to view this. There we go. And where did I do with my tweezers? One second. Okay, so once that's in here, I like to just bend the wire down a little bit. It helps to hold it in place, and then I can solder onto that. All right, that's not going anywhere. So next one, I'm going to leave this one for now, and that's the ground, so that's that blue wire. So next one is the purple, which is the right channel, which is red. So let's get that into that one here. I'm going to come from underneath. All right, so we got video, we got half of the audio. Now we need ground. Ground goes into the middle here. And again, just need to be very careful that you're not allowing any of these to short out. So like that. Perfect. And then the left audio channel, which will be the white RCA plug. I don't know if I fluxed this one. Okay, so that should be good. So I can tuck that down into the side. Don't forget the power switch. There. Okay, there we go. And that's what the finished product looks like from the outside. So I'm going to get this set up to my TV and we're going to give this a test. All right, so got her set up here mostly. Just going to plug in the power. And power on. And we've got pretty good video. Let's wait for the audio to start. Oh, it looks good. There's no crackling with that audio. The picture's clean. So there's one last pretty small thing I need to do before this is, I would consider, complete. Well, I need to finish screwing this all together, so let's do that first. But there's one small other thing left, and that's that controller cable. So let's flip this back over. There are a couple of screws that you need to install by the cartridge connector, and they just take regular Phillips screws. Throw the shell back on, and the shell takes security screws, so it's a 4.3 millimeter, I believe, game bit screwdriver. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of these. Okay, so Turbografx console itself is pretty much good to go. So one last thing, like I mentioned, that I need to fix, and that's this controller. So the controller, part 1 of this series, the controller itself didn't work either, and I had to kind of make this Frankenstein plug in order to get it to work. And it's basically been rebuilt using hot glue as a filler to hold everything together, and obviously it looks super ugly. I've gotten this replacement, which is slightly different. It's smaller, so not quite as big to plug in, but and the arrow is different, but it should fit. So let's get my small screwdriver set. And this is a pretty quick replacement, but I do want to test to make sure that it works. Otherwise, we're going to keep using the Franken plug. And I got this controller replacement from console5.com, along with the rest of my other stuff that I used to do that AV mod. Okay, so we can take the board out here, and this swap should be as simple as disconnecting this guy connecting the new one. I said connecting the new one. So it is a pretty tight squeeze, but looks like it works. And looks like we will also have to bend the cable a little bit to fit around the strain relief here. So what I mean by that is right up here, it looks like, how did this work before? Goes over the top like that, down and up. So we need to do essentially the same thing. I'm going to twist this, get everything down here, down and up. This is a thick cable. Please don't break. I really hope this cable is not too thick. It kind of feels like it is. It's definitely thicker than the OEM one. I wonder if I can grind away a little bit of that post. That's annoying. Or, oops, sorry. We'll just jam it in. There we go. Make sure that will actually go together, but those posts bent a little bit, but it should be okay. That's clearly not going anywhere. Okay, so looks like that fits. So hopefully it works. It wasn't a perfect fit, but we'll see. And unfortunately, the arrow on the plug, it appears to be the wrong way. It looks like they kind of used an old AV cable. Is that the same one as Model 1 Genesis? Not quite. But so it doesn't fit with the arrow up. You got to use the arrow down. But it will fit ultimately. And let's give this a try. Let's see, make sure that all the buttons and everything work. So AV cable plugs in on the side, power on this side. And let's see what we've got here. Okay, push run button. Okay, we're into the game. Right, left, forward, back. Oops. Number 2, shoot, shoot. I mean, looks like it works. Pause. I don't know that select does anything necessarily, but looks like it works. So we're able to get that controller repaired, install an AV mod, and generally just clean up this system. So that's going to be it for this video and for this Turbografx series. So I appreciate you watching. If you haven't already, check out parts 1 and 2 and see what else has gone into this system. But once again, I appreciate you watching. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. And until next time, thanks a lot again. See you next video.